Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Thanks for joining us on this quick lesson of getting the most from your practice time for real results. There's a PDF that goes along with this, so make sure and have that out and download that and get that out in front of you. I'm going to be covering several things. We're talking about how to practice, what you should be practicing. I'm going to even give you a sample practice routine and schedule so that you know about how much time you should be putting in on these various areas. There's a lot to get to, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's answer three basic questions here. How often should you practice? When should you practice? And where should you practice? How often should you practice? In order to get real good progress, you need to be practicing 20 minutes or more if you want to do it. Practice up to an hour if you want to, but 20 minutes at least 5 days out of the week in order to make significant progress. If you're not touching your guitar more than that, you're just not going to be making a whole lot of progress. But Steve, I want to be a guitar player. I really want to be a guitar player. It's amazing how many lessons I give to folks. We get around to the next week and they're like, I didn't practice that. Well, you're not going to get any better. We can do it again if you want, but you're not going to get any better. The only way you're going to get better is doing it and spending time with your instrument. How much time? You don't need to spend hours and hours and hours. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. If you can grab 20 minutes, 5 out of 7 days of the week, you're going to be in a good spot to start making progress on your instrument. If you can do more, great. Be flexible with yourself in your practice time. Break it up if you need to. That's what I do. I do break it up into 15-minute segments. It's hard for me to just sit for an hour and just ding, 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 practice like that. Just mentally, I need the mental break. That's how often should you practice. I would suggest at least 20 minutes, 5 to 7 days, 5 out of the 7 days of the week. Take a day off, definitely. I take Sundays off, and I don't play my guitar, don't practice on Sundays. When should you practice? All right. You want to practice when your mind is clear and fresh. You don't want to practice when you're tired and when you've got other stuff on your mind, when you're distracted or stressed out or something like that. And you want to practice when your mind is fresh. For me, that happens most when in the first thing in the morning, early in the morning, when the cares of the day haven't squeezed in just yet. For other folks, it's at night, when the stresses of the day have kind of subsided a little bit and they can go and focus on what they love to do. Find the time that works for you. My time is not going to work for you. You need to find the time that works for you. But here's the thing. You want to find a time where you can be focused, where you're fresh, where your mind is really absorbing what you're wanting to do. Last thing, where should you practice? All right, this is a good one. Where should you practice? You want to find a place. It doesn't need to be this elaborate thing, but you want to find a place that's away from distractions, away from the phone, away from the computer, away from the TV, so that you can focus on the task that you're doing. The goal of practicing is to make progress, period. It's not about logging in time. If I just log in enough time. No. If you're not engaged mentally, you're not going to make any progress. So the goal of practice is progress. Well, I practice, but I keep going over the same song all the time. Don't do that. You're not making any progress. You're just going over the same song all the time. You're just serenading yourself. Don't do that. You're always going to be reaching and striving for things that you can't do in your practice time. So where should you practice? Away from distractions. Put the phone away, put the TV, turn that off, and just get a place where you're not going to be disturbed so you can just focus on what you want to do. Here's an effective practice routine that I have found. Let's say you've got 30 minutes. You do the first 5 minutes of warming up. Hand stretching, finger stretching exercises. I'll do a lot of these sorts of exercises where I'm doing fingering or I'm hammering on it. That sort of stuff. I'm just warming up my hands. The next 10 minutes, I would suggest that you do just physical technique stuff. I'm working on scales and arpeggios. Just working on whatever your technique that you're working on at the moment is that you're working on. I would suggest you spend 10 minutes on technique. I'm not doing a song. I'm working on technique. We've got workouts on doing speed and agility where you're doing finger exercises, things like that. Then I would spend the next 10 minutes working on repertoire. Sometimes I'll get so focused on learning technique stuff that I won't be focused on repertoire, and then next thing you know, I get called to play a job, and I've got to work up all this repertoire just under the gun. So spend the next 10 minutes. First 5 minutes is warm up. Then you have 10 minutes of just technique practice, scales, things like that, learning new chords. Next 10 minutes is repertoire. Put these things that you have learned into a song, in whatever song that you're working on. Doesn't have to be anything hard. Work on something that you're applying these techniques in there. The whole goal of things is making music, so that's where the learning repertoire, learning songs is going to help. The last 5 minutes, this is an important one, is put all that stuff away and improvise on your instrument. What do I mean by improvise? Well, you don't have to be doing intricate jazz solos or anything like that. You could just be trying to make music on your instrument just in some way. Just some way of making music. You find a couple of chords, you combine them together. That's important. A lot of times, more classically trained musicians have not spent any time improvising in that way, and so when it comes time to just play us something, they get real freaked out with that. So it's a good idea to just add that to your practice sketch. You know, you can get, nowadays, you go onto YouTube, just type in backing track in A, and I'll do that all the time. It'll throw up some backing track in A, and I'll just be able to improvise or noodle around, even if I'm just doing scales in A. It's just helpful to have a little track going on in A. So there's your 30-minute practice time. 5 minutes of warm-up, 10 minutes of working on skills, 10 minutes of working on songs and repertoire, 5 minutes of just exploring on your instrument, doing some improvisational stuff. Whatever level you're in. You know, if you're an advanced player, I'd say those same food groups need to be in your practice time. Warming up. It's amazing how much better you can be if you just warm up. If I work on technique all the time and don't work on repertoire, then I end up not having anything to play that folks want to listen to. If I work on my repertoire all the time, but I don't work on technique, then I never get any better. So you need both of them. And then add a little bit of improvisation there at the ending. Here are some practice tips that help me. Leave your instrument out. You can't see it, it's off camera here, but I've got 2 racks of guitars right over here. And boy, I used to never have guitars out, maybe just 1 or 2. Now I have as many guitars out as I can, and I love it. I'm constantly grabbing guitars, different ones for different things. I find that if the instrument is out, as I'm walking by trying to grab a few minutes, it's more likely to do it. If I have to dig under my bed or in a closet to pick it under, it just becomes too big of a deal. So I like having my instruments out. They're well protected in a nice rack back here, so they're not going to get knocked over by a pet or your kids or something like that. I suggest have it out. It'll be a little bit more accessible for you. When you're working on speed stuff, have a metronome, whether it's on your phone or a little tick-tock metronome like this. Always work with a metronome if you're doing anything with speed and timing and tempo. It's not about getting fast. It's about playing in time accurately, and you can't just do that by, I think I'll play in time. No, you can put yourself on the clock, put yourself on a metronome, and that will help you be honest. It will show you how off you really are. Sometimes we think we're more on than we are. Last thing that I found is helpful is keeping a practice journal. I've got a calendar over here that I write my little practice, what I've done in these different things, and I've got little goals that I have, and I write those down. If you write it down, that helps you be focused in your practice time. So there's some tips on how to practice and how you should be doing all that. You know, practicing doesn't need to be a burden. You're thinking about it wrong. It needs your practice room is a sanctuary, not a prison. It's a sanctuary where I can get away from everything that's stressing me out, and I can just make some music. That's what practicing should be. Change your mindset on that. You get to practice, not that you have to practice. You get the opportunity to practice. So take advantage of that.